The email from my brother arrived 3 weeks before Christmas. Family holiday party at Eastwood Country Club. Adults only. Cocktail attire. RSVP by December 10th. No personal note. Just logistics sent to the family distribution list like I was any distant relative. I confirmed attendance. His response came 2 hours later. Actually, need to discuss your invitation. Call me. I called. He answered on the fourth ring, voice carrying that particular tone, simultaneously condescending and bored. Nicole. So about the Christmas party. What about it, Derek? We're hosting at Eastwood this year. Members only venue. We're keeping the guest list to people who fit the club's atmosphere. I'm family. He sighed like I was being difficult. You know what I mean. Eastwood is where serious professionals network. State legislators, business executives, appellate court judges. Meredith's father is bringing the lieutenant governor. We need the optics right. And I ruin the optics. You're a public defender, Nicole. You spend your days with criminals. People at the club don't understand that work. It makes conversations awkward. I'd been a public defender for 6 years, working out of the state capitol's overloaded office. I handled cases for clients who couldn't afford attorneys, drug charges, theft, occasionally violent crimes. The work was brutal, underpaid, utterly dismissed by my family as misguided idealism. What Derek didn't know was that 18 months ago, the governor-elect's transition team had approached me. They'd been impressed by my work on criminal justice reform, particularly a case I'd argued that resulted in a state Supreme Court decision limiting pretrial detention. They'd asked me to join a task force on sentencing reform. That work led to more meetings, policy discussions, drafting proposals for the governor's legislative agenda. 3 months ago, the governor-elect personally asked me to serve as Deputy Director of Criminal Justice Policy in her administration. The appointment wouldn't be announced until after the new year. In 6 weeks, I'd be working directly for the governor, shaping statewide criminal justice policy, earning $140,000 annually, more than Derek made managing Dad's car dealerships. But I hadn't told anyone. After years of family dinners where Derek bragged about sales numbers while Dad dismissed my charity work for criminals. After countless holidays where Mom introduced Derek as our successful son, and me as still doing the public defender thing, I'd stopped sharing. So I'm uninvited, I said. Not uninvited. Just, maybe skip this year. We'll do something smaller after the holidays. I already RSVP'd. I know, my fault for the mass email. But Meredith stressed. Her father's using this to introduce the lieutenant governor to donors. We can't have you showing up in your old Honda talking about defending drug dealers. These are people who value success. They don't understand your choices. My choices. 6 years of law school and public service reduced to embarrassing choices. I'll skip it, I said. Thanks. I knew you'd understand. We'll catch up after New Year's. He hung up before I could respond. I looked at the email on my laptop. Confidential. Gubernatorial appointment announcement timeline. The governor's communications director had sent it that morning. They were planning the announcement for January 8th. Full press conference, policy briefing, the whole rollout. Derek's party was December 23rd. The governor's inauguration was January 6th, and I'd already received my invitation to the inaugural ball. Not as family of a car dealership manager, but as an incoming senior administration official. I opened my reply to Derek's email and deleted my acceptance. Then I wrote, on second thought, I'll be there. See you the 23rd. Hold up. The day of the party, I drove to Eastwood Country Club in my Honda Civic. The car Derek had specifically mentioned as embarrassing. The club sat on 200 acres of manicured grounds, all old money elegance. I parked between a Mercedes and a Tesla. Inside, the party was in full swing. The ballroom glittered with tasteful Christmas decorations. Men in suits networked over cocktails. Women in designer dresses clustered in conversation groups. I spotted my family immediately. Derek stood with Meredith and her father, State Senator Richard Hartwell. Mom and Dad flanked them, thrilled to be adjacent to political power. Derek saw me. His expression flickered. Surprise, irritation, forced pleasantness. Nicole, you made it after all. I said I would. Meredith air-kissed my cheek, smile not reaching her eyes. We're so glad you're here. Though maybe keep what you do, General. People here don't always understand public sector work. Senator Hartwell extended his hand. Richard Hartwell. You're Derek's sister. Nicole Chin. Yes. What do you do? Before I could answer, Derek jumped in. Nicole works in criminal law. Very dedicated to public service. Making it sound like volunteer work. Hartwell nodded politely and immediately turned back to Dad to discuss investments. I was dismissed. The evening progressed as expected. I drifted through conversations where I was introduced as Derek's sister, the lawyer, with no follow-up questions. Mom steered me away from important guests. Dad pretended to listen, then changed subjects to Derek's achievements. I was at the bar when I heard Meredith's voice behind me. I still can't believe Derek invited her. She's a public defender. Defends drug dealers and criminals. Can you imagine discussing that with the lieutenant governor? Does she even belong to the club? God no. She couldn't afford membership on a public defender salary. We only got her in as Derek's family guest. I turned. Meredith's face went pale. Nicole. I didn't, we were just. Don't worry. I know exactly what you think of my work. I walked back into the ballroom. A commotion near the entrance caught my attention. Two men in dark suits, earpieces visible. Secret Service. Behind them, Governor-elect Sarah Martinez walked in with Lieutenant Governor-elect James Torres. The room's energy shifted instantly. Conversations stopped. Senator Hartwell rushed forward, followed by Derek and Meredith. The governor smiled graciously, shaking hands with Hartwell. Her eyes scanned the room, then landed on me. Her expression brightened. She said something to her security detail and started walking in my direction. Derek was still talking to the lieutenant governor, unaware. Mom stood with her back to the entrance. No one in my family had seen the governor arrive. Governor-elect Martinez reached me, extending her hand warmly. Nicole, I hoped you'd be here. I tried calling earlier. Conversations around us stopped. Heads turned. Governor Martinez. I didn't expect to see you here. Richard Hartwell invited us weeks ago. But honestly, I was hoping to run into you. Have you reviewed the policy briefing materials my team sent? The room had gone silent. Everyone stared. I reviewed them yesterday. The sentencing reform proposals are solid. I have some suggestions on implementation timeline. Excellent. That's exactly why we need you leading this work. She turned to her aide. Make sure Nicole's on the calendar for the policy summit next week. Derek appeared at my elbow, face confused. Governor Martinez, I'm Derek Chin, Nicole's brother. Mr. Chin, nice to meet you. She shook his hand briefly, then turned back to me. Nicole, I wanted to discuss the announcement timing. Communications wants the full rollout on the 8th, but I'm wondering if we should move it up. Senator Hartwell materialized along with Meredith and my parents. Mom's face was pale with confusion. Governor, what a wonderful surprise, Hartwell said smoothly. I don't believe you've met the Chin family. Actually, Richard, I know Nicole quite well. We've been working together for months on criminal justice reform. She's going to be a key member of my administration. Revelation. You could have heard a pin drop. Derek's mouth fell open. Administration? Nicole. Governor Martinez smiled. You didn't know? Nicole's been appointed Deputy Director of Criminal Justice Policy. She'll be helping lead our reform agenda. Sentencing guidelines, pretrial detention, rehabilitation programming. The announcement goes public next month, but I assumed family would know. Meredith looked like she might faint. Senator Hartwell's smile froze. Mom gripped Dad's arm. We. Derek couldn't form words. Nicole's casework caught our attention during the transition, the governor continued. Her Supreme Court argument on pretrial detention was brilliant. Her policy proposals are exactly the evidence-based reform we need. Lieutenant Governor-elect Torres joined us. Nicole, good to see you. Did you get my email about the Corrections Committee briefing? I did. I'll have the data analysis ready by next week. Perfect. He turned to Derek. You must be very proud of your sister. She's going to transform criminal justice policy in this state. Derek's face went from pale to red. Meredith stared at me like I was a stranger. Senator Hartwell was doing political calculations. His daughter had just publicly humiliated the incoming governor's senior policy advisor. Mom found her voice. Nicole, you never mentioned. We had no idea you were working with the governor. You never asked what I was working on. You were too busy being embarrassed that I'm a public defender." The words landed in dead silence. Dozens of guests watched, the state's political elite witnessing my family's public reckoning. Governor Martinez looked between us, understanding dawning. "Your family didn't know about the appointment?" "I haven't had a chance to tell them. We don't discuss my work at family gatherings." "Because we thought," Mom started then stopped. "You thought I was wasting my career defending criminals," I finished. "Derek told me not to come tonight because my work might embarrass the family in front of important people." Derek's face went purple. "Nicole, that's not. You said I didn't fit the country club atmosphere. That talking about my work would make conversations awkward. That people here value success and achievement." Governor Martinez's expression cooled. He turned to Derek. "Your sister has dedicated her career to ensuring constitutional rights for the most vulnerable people in our justice system. She's argued before the state Supreme Court. She's shaped policy that will affect thousands of lives. And you told her she doesn't fit." The room was silent. Phones were out, people filming, posting. "Governor, I'm sure this is just a family misunderstanding," Senator Hartwell tried. "Is it? Because it sounds like Ms. Chen's family has been dismissing crucial public service work as something to be ashamed of." He turned to me. "Nicole, I'm sorry you've dealt with this. Your work matters. The people you represent matter." She handed me her card. "Call me tomorrow. We should move up that policy briefing." "Yes, ma'am." She turned to the crowd. "For those who don't know, Nicole Chen is one of the most dedicated public servants I've encountered. She'll be joining my administration as Deputy Director of Criminal Justice Policy. I suggest you get used to working with her. She's going to be shaping policy in this state for years to come." Applause started, uncertain at first, then building. Real applause from people who understood they'd witnessed something significant. The governor moved on to other conversations, leaving me standing with my family in awkward silence. Resolution. Derek spoke first, voice barely above a whisper. "You're going to be deputy director? In the governor's office?" "Yes." "How long have you known?" 3 months. Mom's eyes filled with tears. 3 months and you didn't tell us." "Why would I?" So Derek could explain to his country club friends that his sister got a political appointment she didn't deserve. "That's not fair," Dad said weakly. "Isn't it? When was the last family dinner where anyone asked about my cases? When did any of you show interest instead of being embarrassed?" Meredith tried to salvage something. "We just didn't understand." "You didn't try to understand. You were too busy being ashamed I worked with criminals. That I drove a Honda. That I couldn't afford country club memberships." "Nicole, please," Mom said. "We're proud of you. Now you are. Now that the governor personally sought me out. But last week, Derek uninvited me because I embarrassed the family." I picked up my purse. "I need to go. I have briefing materials to review." "Wait," Dad said. "We should celebrate." "Celebrate what?" "That your embarrassing daughter turned out to have a career worth acknowledging." I walked toward the exit. Behind me, Meredith's voice shrill. "Derek, everyone's filming. This is going to be everywhere." Good. The next morning my phone exploded. The video had gone viral. Governor publicly defending public defender from dismissive family. Twitter threads analyzed it. Legal blogs discussed it. News outlets requested interviews. The governor's communications director called. "The video's getting enormous traction. We're moving up your announcement. Strike while the iron's hot." Derek called 17 times. I didn't answer. Mom sent a long email about family and forgiveness. I deleted it. Senator Hartwell's office requested a meeting to discuss policy priorities. I had my assistant schedule it for late February. The incident became a case study in law schools. About class bias in the legal profession, about how public service work is devalued. Meredith's father lost his leadership position. Too many remembered how his family treated a senior administration official. Derek's business suffered. Clients quietly moved to competitors. January 6th, I attended the governor's inaugural ball. Not as Derek Chen's sister who didn't fit, but as Dr. Nicole Chen, Deputy Director of Criminal Justice Policy. I wore a designer gown purchased with my new salary. I sat at the head table with cabinet members. I gave a brief speech about criminal justice reform livestreamed to 50,000 viewers. My family watched from home uninvited. 6 months later, we passed landmark sentencing reform legislation. The governor credited my policy work in her press conference. National news covered it. Derek sent a congratulations card. I didn't respond. A year later, I was promoted to Director of Criminal Justice Policy. My salary increased to $165,000. I bought a new car, not to impress anyone but because I could. I still defend constitutional rights. I still believe in public service over private profit. And I never attended another country club Christmas party. 3 years into my role, I testified before Congress on national criminal justice reform. The hearing was televised. My parents watched from their living room as I presented data on pretrial detention reform that influenced federal policy. Mom called afterward. "We saw you on C-SPAN. You were incredible. Thank you. Your father wants to talk. He's been going to therapy. Trying to understand why he dismissed your work for so long." I didn't respond immediately. "We know we can't undo the years of not seeing you," she continued. "Not valuing what you were building. But we'd like to try. If you're willing." "I don't know if I am." "That's fair. We'll be here when you're ready. If you're ever ready." She hung up. I sat in my office overlooking the Capitol, the same office where I drafted policies that reduced incarceration rates by 18% statewide. Derek never apologized directly. But 6 months later, I heard he'd quietly donated to the public defender's office. A significant amount, no press release, no recognition sought. Meredith and he divorced. Apparently, the country club incident had been the beginning of many realizations about who they'd become. I didn't forgive my family. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I built something they couldn't diminish. A career defined by impact, not approval. Success measured in lives changed, not social status achieved. And that was enough.